Hello and welcome to the Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton, and welcome to the player ratings for the Everton 2 Chelsea nil game at Goodison Park that took place just a few hours ago now. That's the third win in a row for Everton, a huge game, a huge performance once again. Finding Sean Dyche said it in his press conference after the game, but this team keeps finding different wins to win. That's 9 points out of 12 since the points deduction, and now we're in a situation where I believe we're 4 points clear of the relegation zone already. And if we weren't in the relegation zone, we'd be in a position where we're hunting down for Europe. But yeah, I don't want to go too much in detail on the whole performance. We have other videos on the channel for that. If you want to see those, please go watch them. But yeah, I think it was a great performance. I think a lot of the players all around had good performances, but I think a few really stood out. So if we start off with Jordan Pickford, I'd give Pickford an 8. It sounds a bit weird. It's quite a high rating, but that's another clean sheet. That's 3 in a row for Pickford now in this winning streak. And I really feel like his distribution, especially in that second half, was one of the key reasons we were able to go and create chances and score the goals that we did. Of course, the second one coming from a corner, but we'll get to that a little later on. But it felt like Pickford's distribution was one of our main weapons to actually starting attacks and getting things going. So I think he deserves a lot of props for that. I think, being able to keep 3 clean sheets in a row for an Everton team that at the start of the season, it felt like we couldn't keep a clean sheet to save our lives. So now in a position where John Pickford's keeping 3 clean sheets in 3 wins, 3 big wins against two solid sides. Chelsea not so good, but with a reputation of that Chelsea have, it's huge for Jordan, and I think it was again another good performance. Then we move to left back Mykolenko, my man of the match, a 9 out of 10. Again, a 10 out of 10 is perfect, so I won't give him a 10, but as close to perfect as you can get. Mykolenko's resurgence these past few weeks has been fantastic to watch. He's really turned into one of the more solid left backs in the league, one of the more consistent ones in this short run of form. And of course, that could change next week against Burnley, but right now, Mykolenko was just absolutely fantastic once again. It continues to improve each game. It feels like each game he's getting better and better and putting in better performances. An absolute rock defensively, whether it was whoever he was marking, Sterling in the second half being the main one. But it really felt like he was never troubled in a sense. It really felt like that Mykolenko was never going to get beaten, that Mykolenko was 100% going to win every duel he was in, and he proved that again. Some of the tackles he made as well, some of the late tackles, some of the sliding tackles to block shots were absolutely fantastic as well. He did offer some threat going forward, but I think the main thing that everyone is going to jump on, what everyone should jump on, is how good he was defensively this game, how solid he was, and the fact that he was probably the most important player on the pitch for Everton actually winning the game. Because, I really feel like if he wasn't on the pitch, Chelsea would have scored. Branthwaite and Tarkowski both got a 7. I feel like this is a package deal. I don't feel like one of them really stood out over the other this game. Once again, solid defensively. As I mentioned for Pickford, that's 3 clean sheets in a row for this duo now. I feel like Tarkowski did get caught out of position a few times when he was reaching forward for those interceptions, where he's trying to take those positions, but a few of the times he also got great interceptions that helped start attacks. So I think, again, a solid performance from Tarkowski. And Branthwaite, excellent ever since he's come into the side. Arguably the club's best player. I think I said last thing I did about Newcastle, that he is the club's best player. Again, I feel like there's a few, but I feel like no one would be surprised. Don't be surprised if Branthwaite's being linked to big moves next summer. If he can keep this form, there's a chance he may even sneak in the England squad at this rate. The yellow card was a bit silly, but besides that, I think he was faultless. Ashley Young, 6. Went off injured, didn't really do much in the time he had. There's not really much to talk about, to be honest with you. Nathan Patterson, I think Patterson had a good game, and I think Patterson might have solidified himself as a starting right back now. I think he's defended well and offered something going forward. There isn't really much to talk about with Patterson. I feel like he offered a bit more of a forward threat than Mykolenko did, but I think Patterson just had a solid performance, good defensively, was able to cause some problems for Mudryk, even if Mudryk was, a few times being able to catch Patterson, but I do think Patterson was great, was good overall, and had a good performance. McNeil, I gave a 6. To be honest with you, this might be a bit harsh, but I don't really think McNeil had the impact that he's had in the previous 2 games. Again, I think most of his impact came defensively, tracking back and really helping Mykolenko out against players like Sterling, if I'm honest with you, but he didn't really do much when he had the ball. I feel like both the wingers didn't really have much of an impact on the game when they had the ball, and I'll get to Harrison a little bit later on. But yeah, I don't think that's a slight to McNeil. I think McNeil still impacted the game in his own way, but I feel like most of the impact came from other players this game, not really from McNeil. Garner, I also gave a 6. A solid defensive performance, and I feel like this 6 is less down to Garner and more down to the way we played. Garner's one of those, he's like the metronome of the team. He tries to control the tempo, control the pace of the game, but I feel like he wasn't really able to do that. A lot of the chances came quickly on the counter. Garner wasn't able to really control that midfield like he wanted to. There were only brief moments he were able to. Again, I feel like this 6 isn't really down to Garner. It's down to the way Everton played and down to the opportunities he was given. That's what I will say. Just a game 5. An early yellow card didn't really impact the game and was replaced for Onana. That's what I've got here, and that's how it feels, to be honest. It wouldn't surprise me if Just is taken out of the team now, with Garner, Onana, with the performance he had. Just played good against Newcastle, but I feel like against Newcastle, he was still one of the players that stood out the least, and at his age, I really feel like Just shouldn't be playing consistent first team football. It should be one of Garner or Nana, and I think that is the preferred midfield too. And speaking of Onana, I give Onana a 7. Came on to replace Just had a solid 45 minutes. He completed 93% of his passes. Really helped us in keeping the ball in the limited amounts of possession that we had. And the one that stood out for me that made me up this to a 7 was that challenge on Palmer towards the end of the game. Strong challenge. It took a lot of a lot of guts to do that. And again, it was a great tackle. A physical challenge at that, but again, he wins the ball. It was a fantastic tackle. I feel like Onana, he looked sloppy at some points early into his substitution, but I feel like he really came into it later in the game, especially defensively. And, again, there's not much to say about it. I feel like for what he did, he earned a 7. Harrison had a 6. I felt like he had an impact on the game at times. Again, his pressing is vital to the team, but I do think he gave the ball away too much to get anything more than a 6. He can be let down by he sometimes has a bit of a heavy first touch or a silly first pass, but that's natural when you're a winger who's trying to take chances and create them. But again, like I said, I don't really feel like any of the wingers that started had much of an impact, to be completely honest with you. And same with Harrison, his pressing had an impact on us again, but I feel like there wasn't really much to talk about. And then we get to Lewis Dobbin, young academy graduate himself, gets his first goal in the Premier League, I believe. And it was a big goal, great goal of that. Falls to him on the edge of the box from a corner. He absolutely whacks it and it just flies in past, I think, Petrovic or whatever he's called. Petkovic, the substitute keeper, was in at this point. A great finish. Great way to open his tally for Everton. And again, I think it's a great way to show Sean Dyche that he should be given some opportunities. And I think it would really surprise me if he's not given opportunities after this. Then we move to Decore, who also gets a 9. The joint highest player rating, I couldn't pick between him and Mykolenko for man of the match. All right, I think I'd give it to Mykolenko. Well, not have give it to Mykolenko, but again, Decore is just deserving for it. For Decore, there's not much to talk about because it's stuff he does so often, but it's covering all that space and it's that impact he has in the final third for Everton when it comes to scoring goals. The most Premier League goals scored by a midfielder since Sean Dyche came in with 11, or I believe he's 11 tied with Martin Odegaard, who might also have 11. But Decore has the most, we're going to say. And he's just, again, a fantastic finish too. Calvert-Lewin's one-on-one. We'll mention more about that when we get to Calvert-Lewin. But the ball falls to Decore, who slams it into the bottom corner. A great finish and another goal for Decore. Again, maybe Everton's most important player, maybe not the best, but Everton's most important player who just everywhere on the pitch he has an impact. And again, the shining light ever since Sean Dyche came into the club, in my opinion, of this is what a player who, didn't have much faith, didn't have much belief in him from the previous manager, is now all of a sudden a vital cog into a machine that, if it didn't have a 10-point deduction, would be fighting for a possible Conference League and or Europa League spot right now in the season. So it really says something about Decore and how good of a servant he is for the club. And then finally, well, not finally, we've got Dominic Calvert-Lewin next, who I gave a 7. Now, this one might be controversial, especially with the chance he missed, but I feel like Calvert-Lewin's hold-up play, the way he gets every other forward in the game, brings midfielders into the attack like Decore, I think it's necessary for how Everton play. The goals aren't exactly there from Dom. I think he's got 3 this season, but a huge impact on the game as well. And of course, that one-on-one, again, he would have had it knocked up to an 8 if he would have scored it, but I feel like that is disappointing from Dom. A great through ball from McNeil. Calvert-Lewin found himself one-on-one. It is some good sweeping from Sanchez, I will say that. as soon as the through ball starts coming in, Sanchez starts running out. But, you do expect a little more from his striker. But, again, his hold-up play and everything else he did was important enough to the point where I still think he earned that 7. And last but not least, Beto, a 6. To be honest with you, he didn't really do much. He caused some problems for Chelsea defenders a few times, but not enough where I could give him anything higher than a 6. He didn't. At the point Beto came on, we barely touched the ball for that last period of the game, and Chelsea really took over. So I don't really think it's Beto's fault. I just think he didn't have enough of the ball to do anything, or didn't get the chances to do much really. But that is all for this player ratings. If you did enjoy, please make sure to like and subscribe. Make sure to give your opinion in the comments below on what you think and your player ratings, your man of the match. That'd be tell us down below who you think your man of the match is. Please follow us on Twitter at Everton Newsfeed, and please follow me on Twitter at Callum, and I'll see you all for the next video and or live stream that I'm on. Goodbye, everyone.